Oké Google, wie is Dirk Heylen?
That's me, okay. For 25 years, I've been in academia, actually for more than 25 years, working on systems, conversational agents that can interact with you. I started working on machine translation, and currently I'm, as I said, working on embodied conversational agents, also known as talking heads or virtual humans. And as I say, I try to work on machines that can understand what you say. But I've learned a couple of lessons. And the first lesson is that machines can translate text pretty decently without understanding them. Now, when we were working on machine translation more than 25 years ago, we didn't really follow this lesson. We analyzed the sentence in the source language with grammar rules, world knowledge, dictionaries, trying to get to the semantics, the meaning of the sentence, and then generate the source language, the target language utterance from that meaning. Now, that never did us get us any far. Now, machine translation, as you get it from Google, this doesn't look at the meaning of the words. And why is that? The principle is as follows. Everything that we say, or at least the parts that compose the things that what we say, have been said before. And most of what has been said before has been translated before. And all of this has now entered the internet. So it's just a matter of looking things up. Now, we couldn't do this 25 years ago because 25 years ago, the internet was pretty empty. But now, there's another lesson I've learned. And that is, being able to understand what you say is not enough for a computer to engage with you in a conversation. And this is what I want to talk to you a bit more about. And I'll start with a movie from the first experiment I did 17 years ago. And you see here a virtual agent, Karen, she was called. And the idea is that you could book tickets for the theater by, in this case, not speaking to her, but typing in natural language texts. And I apologize for the poor quality of the movie, poor quality of the graphics, and poor quality of the animations. But I would like to have you look at what she's doing.
Hallo, ik ben Karin. Waar kan ik u mee van dienst zijn? Voor welke voorstelling wilt u reserveren? Momentje, ik kijk even voor u in het programma op je. Er zijn 24 voorstellingen van Orkest van het Oosten.
Okay, so this was not a very lively character, but at least she did move her head once in a while, and she gazed away and towards the conversational partner. Now, this was based on an algorithm that was inspired by how people in conversations deal with looking away and towards their partner. And the important thing is here that when we implemented this algorithm, it was the right algorithm, which we tested with different variations, and it was right in the following ways. First of all, when people interacted with the good version of the algorithm, they completed the task significantly faster than people who interacted with another version. And the second thing is that they liked the character much more than the other versions. And they were not completely awkward. So what is important, as I said, is that for computers to engage with you in a conversation, and certainly these more advanced ones, at least this is not really the advanced ones, but at least the embodied ones, they need to do more. They need to have the right body language. But it's also important for them, and we'll come to that in a minute, is that they also understand your body language. And let's see whether I can start this movie. No. Okay, so one of the things that we looked at is when you start creating these embodied conversational agents, you really get to an idea of how the body language actually works. And one of the things that has not been studied so much is how people move their heads in particular ways when they have a conversation. And when you look at this movie, I want you to think about the following things. What is actually determining why the people move their heads in the way they move their heads? And this is a movie from, I think, 2005. It's on the 3rd of October. That's the day just before, of course, World Animal Day. And people here are debating whether it's ethically allowed to eat and serve foie gras in a restaurant.
Allemaal niet nodig. Ik bedoel, dat is ook de vraag die professor Cliteur stelt. Maar wat maakt het nou uit als u nou dat van de kaart haalt en is het toch nog voldoende lekkers te eten?
Nee, maar het alternatief is er niet. Dat is
zei ik tegen meneer Blauw.
Het is, laten we nou heel eerlijk zijn. Het gewone ganzenlever of kippenlever is geen alternatief. Dit is niet te vergelijken. Qua smaak. En ik ben restaurant. Ik werk met smaken. Ik werk met...
Ja, maar er zijn nog 20 andere voorgerechten te bedenken die reuze chic zijn, toch?
Ja, dat is zo.
En dus dan blijft de vraag, waarom doet u het dan toch?
Omdat het ontzettend lekker is. Omdat je ontzettend veel mee kunt doen. En het is gewoon heerlijk. Het is gewoon een lekker product. Als je in Frankrijk gaat kijken, dan heeft elk eetcafé, wat is nog echt... Iedereen heeft ganzenlever.
Ja, maar dat is wel waar overigens. Maar ik wil naar professor Cliteur. Want u wilt dus zo'n verklaring voor de rechten van productiedieren. U wil ook dat er een gerechtshof komt in Den Haag... waar misdaden tegen het dier kunnen worden beoordeeld.
Ja, uiteindelijk wel, ja.
Als ik nou dit hoor, ik geloof dat er 22...
Ja, dan zijn we daar heel ver van verwijderd.
Ja, maar is het dan ook niet een totale illusie om te denken dat u er ook maar ooit in de buurt kan komen van wat u wil?
Nee, de wereldgeschiedenis, daar gebeurt van alles in. Daar zijn enorme revoluties vinden daar plaats. De slavernij wordt afgeschaft, vrouwen krijgen rechten. Het is ineens dat de aarde niet meer... Ja,
de krankzinnigste dingen...
Okay. So there's a couple of things that I think you see which you might not have expected. Of course, people move their heads in this multi-party conversation to look at their conversational partners. But what you also see, and you see it underlined here, that the movement of the heads underline the argument structure of what you're saying. So they come along with the discourse structure and the things that you say. But you can also, I think, see that there's something of the personality and the situation coming into these movements. You see how the first person, Blauw, is really under attack and is defending himself, whereas the Professor Cliteur is really composed and sure of himself. So it's really important that these elements that are involved in our conversations are picked up by these conversational agents and that they also react to it. And this is important because what you see, and what you might not have noticed, at a certain time in this movie you saw also this guy and he made these movements.
Qua smaak. En ik ben restaurant.
Very tiny movements, but what he was doing, he was shaking his head slightly, and this was congruent with what Blauw was doing. So what is important is that this conversational agent should not just pay attention to what you're doing and should not be able to express the same things, but it should be more or less aligned in a very specific way. So this is one of the things that we've been looking at quite closely in the last couple of years. And to show where we got to, I will show you a movie of a more recent conversational agent that we built in a European project. And what we did there was exactly trying to find out how the agent should react immediately to the response to the utterances of the human user, human speaker. So what we did is we also created agents with different personalities, as I said, and tried to get the body language of the agent aligned with its personality. And what I'll show you here is a movie of the guy called Spike, and Spike is the conversational agent that will pop up as soon as I start the movie. And this guy is a bit more aggressive. And the idea is actually, the main purpose of this one was for emotion elicitation. We try to get people angry, we try to get them happy, we try to get them depressed by talking to an agent. They liked the aggressive character quite a lot. They liked the happy character quite a lot, but they didn't like to speak to the depressed person or the depressed character. But here you see Spike, and I would like to see whether you can find out whether how we did the alignment.
Well, I'm Spike. What's your problem?
Oh gosh, it's you again. My problem is I've got to listen to you.
Is that so? Tell me about it.
Yeah, well, you're just this horrible, nasty person. Look at you, you haven't even shaved.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so pragmatic.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Well, if something's
And I suppose you're going to tell me nothing can possibly go wrong.
Oh, well, things can go wrong, but you know, if you stay sensible and get other people's advice and things, then generally things don't go wrong, do they?
Yeah. That's feeble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't
Why?
like people like you being so grumpy.
Okay, so there's lots of things going on here. So one of the things that we did, we had a lot of a quick analysis of the movements of the head. We sometimes used mimicry to have the agent react in a similar way as the person was doing it. We had emotion analysis of the voice and of the facial expressions of the persons, and we tried to get the character react to that almost immediately and with big force. Now, it didn't do a lot of understanding of what the person said. The character had about 100 sentences it could say, but we had it build up in a certain a way, and we also used some keyword spotting to get some idea of what was being said and use that. So it's quite important for these conversational agents to read your body language and to be able to express it. Now, what we've been building is systems that can help people in various ways. And as I said, and as also in the title, Fiona Dermody in Dublin is working on a coach for people who are giving a public speech and preparing for it. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, I wasn't able to use the system. I've seen it demoed, and it's quite interesting to see how the body movements of when you're giving the talk, you can see your body movements, and you can really see how the system will give feedback to whether it's right or not, and stuff like that. So I certainly hope for my next TED talk that I would be able to use it. Okay, but let me go back to the lessons learned. The first was that machines can translate text pretty decently without understanding them. Now, this is an insight that was only gained, like, say, 10 years ago. 25 years ago, we thought very differently. So, the second lesson is that being able to understand what you say is not enough for a computer to engage with you in a conversation. Now, this is what I'm believing now. But what will I do in 2030? I think that we don't only have translations of what we say on the internet, we've got a lot of material of people having conversations with each other. And this material is constantly enriched with annotations. We get better in machine learning and profiling people. And so I guess that every conversation we have has been going on at least partially before. And if we've got enough material, we might build agents from all of these pieces that are on the internet. And this is actually what we are now starting to work on. And perhaps it'll take to 2030 till we get a pretty decent result, or perhaps we can get there a bit earlier, I don't know. But this brings me to, I guess, the most important lesson that I've learned in these 25 plus years ago, years long, and that is that as soon as you've learned a lesson, as soon as you've got the idea that you know something, you should question it. Thank you.